Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first video of mine you are seeing, then welcome. So I have the Lawless The Dreamy Dozen Volume 2 eyeshadow palette. I picked this up during the Sephora sale and it is such a beautiful palette. I wanted to do a standalone video for this one, trying it out. I want to use every single shade in the palette, but I will be including some live swatches for you with this one, as well as comparing it to the original The Dreamy Dozen palette, which is from last year. So I'm going to start with the swatches first, and then we're going to move on into the looks. I'll have timestamps listed for you below, so let's get started. So if you followed any of my eyeshadow reviews in the past, then you know that I love to go row by row, so that way I know that I'm using every single shade in the palette. So on this first row, I'm going to mix this shade and this shade together on a Sigma E24. That first shade looks more like my skin tone, so I just said, well, I'll mix it in with this one. We're going to run that right into my crease. You know, if you watch the swatch portion of this video, those shimmer shades, oh my gosh, a lot of them, just one swipe, and they were just so instantly beautiful. I cannot wait to put them all over my eyes. Like, they were just so beautiful. The mattes did fine. I will say that the shimmers seemed to swatch better than the mattes, but the mattes swatched fine. I didn't have any issues. And I did like last year's palette as well, so I definitely wanted to pick up this year's too. I know this palette has been out for probably about a month now, but I wanted to wait for the sale because I kind of noticed that this palette never sold out, so I figured I'd be safe to wait for the sale and pick it up then. Also, ignored that little bump. I don't know where that come from. It just magically appeared there, and now it's there. And I've tried covering it a little bit with concealer, but yeah, it's there. These are really easy to work with. I wish Lawless would make these palettes permanent, like last year's and then this year's. I think that they should really do that. I know they have some palettes in their collection that are permanent, but I don't know. I don't think those are quite as pretty as these two are. They're still pretty, but I don't know. I just think these are pretty palettes. And if you're a neutral lover, they're perfect. I'm just running that all into my crease. I completely forgot that there was a skin tone shade in this palette, so I could have set my eyeshadow primer with it, so that's why I'm just mixing it in with this shade, just to kind of make sure I'm using it too. I will say these shades blend out so easily. I'm not struggling at all. Of course, I don't remember having any issues with last year's palette either. This is a Flawless concealer brush from e.l.f. I just like to take this really large brush and just kind of go around the edges. Sometimes I cut that out, but just know that I'm doing that with each step, like just taking this brush and going around to make sure it's blended. Okay, I'm going to try to take this shade on my finger. I know I'm wearing these little bit longer nails, but I'm going to try, because these shades just look so beautiful, and I'm going to pack that right out here on this outer half of my lid. Ooh, that's stunning. We'll go back in with that Sigma E24 and just lightly Go around the edges of that. There's nothing else added on this brush. I'm just going around the edges just a little bit. You know, I was really happy that they put more shimmer shades in this year's palette. Last year's there were only 3, I believe, and this year there is way more, and I like that because I think these shimmer shades are like the star of the palette in my opinion. I mean, look at that. That's beautiful. Okay, then I'm going to take this shade right here. Alright, now this is where it might get a little bit kind of pesty with these nails, but I'm going to try it. Okay, well, kind of I mean, they're not the longest nails in the world or anything by any means, but I know for the past couple of weeks I've had short ones on. And I mean, really pigmented too. Going back in with that E24, just lightly work around that. I might pick up, you know what, I'm going to pick up a little bit more of those 2 matte shades. Let's start over here and then go around a little bit. Not much, just kind of enough to add a little bit back of that shade. Okay, I'm going to take some of my Smashbox and Becca under eye corrector and go ahead and do the lower lash line. I feel like I applied a little too much on that side. Let me add in a little bit more over here. Okay, and because I placed down a lot of that, I'm not going to put on any concealer. I'm just going to leave that because I don't want to apply too much on my under eyes, and I already kind of applied or over applied that, so we're going to move on. Okay, on a Sigma E54, I'm just going to mix these 2 matte shades again. And we're going to run that on this lower lash line all the way across. Okay, then using that same brush, I'm going to go in with the shade right here. Pop that right here on this inner corner. Pretty. So here is this look. So I'm just going to quickly do the rest of my face and I'll come right back and I'll tell you what blush and lip combo I'm wearing. Okay, here is the completed look for blush. I'm wearing this blush duo from Jouer. This is in the shade Adore. I just mixed the 2 of these together just to create this. And then for my lip combo, I'm using one of the Rare Beauty. This is the, what is this called? Kind Words Matte Lip Liner. This one's in the shade Lively. And then over the top of that, I am wearing one of the e.l.f. Pout Clout Lip Plumping Pen, and I'm wearing the shade Toasted. I thought I wanted something really nice and warm to go with the warmth of the eyes, which doesn't really match my hoodie, but I mean, it's totally okay because I'm not going to be wearing this hoodie out and about. There we have look number 1. So on to look number 2, but actually I think I'm going to do looks 2 and 3 tomorrow when I'm filming so because I want to make sure that I get this video out on Friday. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing look 2 and look 3, so stay tuned for that. I realized I did not have my microphone turned on, so what I was saying is I'm going to do row number 2 for look 2 and then row 3 for look number 3. I'm going to do both looks today so I can get this video up on Friday. And the only thing I've done so far is take this shade right here on a Sigma E24. I don't know how I could forget to do that. I don't have a microphone that's plugged into like my camera. I just don't have that kind of really nice equipment, so my microphone is separate. And I forgot to turn the microphone on. I'm glad I caught it though before I went too far in. But I had mentioned that I might have to mix this shade with a lighter shade, but no, it looks like it's working pretty good. So I'm going to go in with this shade right here, and I'm going to work around the edges of that shade just to make sure that's nice and blended. Now, I don't believe you are going to be able to hear it because my microphone isn't that strong to pick up something like that, but they are doing some kind of work around my house. I don't know what that equipment is, but they are making a lot of noise. So I'm hoping that it won't be picked up by my microphone, and probably not. But I want to mention it in case you do hear some noise. That blended really easily. No issues whatsoever with this palette. Alright, I'm going to take this shade right here on my finger, and we're going to place that right out here. Something tells me that this particular eye might end up looking very similar to the first look I did, because some of these shimmer shades are kind of similar in a way, like in tone. So it probably is going to end up looking fairly similar to what I did yesterday. Which, yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful shade, don't get me wrong, but it looks very similar to this shade above it. It's just a touch darker, but it's very similar in tone. So I just want to mention that in case that would bother you. It doesn't really bother me personally because I feel like the way I'm using this palette, like going row by row, it's going to end up looking a little similar, but if you bounce around the palette, you probably could avoid that. I just do it like this so I can make sure that I'm using every single shade. Okay, then I'm going to take this shade right here, and of course that's going to go on this inner corner. I will say that these shimmer shades are beautiful. Like, they are so lovely. They're very pigmented. Yeah, that does look exactly like yesterday's look. So something to keep in mind if you were interested in this palette. Okay, I'm going to take my Smashbox and Becca Under Eye Corrector, and we'll go ahead and cover up this under eye a little bit. We can go ahead and do the lower lash line on this side. I wanted to do one whole eye at a time so I can do timestamps for you. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my Refi Serum Concealer, just a tiny dot of this about right in here. This is very pigmented, and this shade is not right for me. It's a little bit too bright. So that's why I like to include it here, so it doesn't just have that little semicircle of brightness on my under eye, because I'm not a big fan of that on myself. Looks like I went outside with sunglasses. Okay, and then on a Sigma E54, I'm going in with this shade right here. I am going to spray my brush because this is a shimmer shade and I am putting it on my lower lash line. I want to kind of keep it together. So then I'm going to run that all along, all the way across. Okay, so there is look number 2. I'll do mascara and of course and everything after I go ahead and do look number 3, so let's move on over to the side. Alright, we're moving on to this bottom row right here. So I did clean off that Sigma E24. I'm going to go in with this shade right here. Now, I am going to take this shade and mix it with this because I know this would be too dark for my crease. So I'm going to mix these two shades together. And let's run that into my crease. It's just going to help soften it a little bit. I'm taking a little bit more of that darker shade, that matte, that same matte, the first one that I dipped into, and placing a little bit more of that down. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in with this shade using that same brush, and I'm going to blend around the edges of this shade. Also, I am so excited. I finally bought my very first Nomad Cosmetics palette. It's the one that's like the Polar Express, their new one that just released this week. I did pick that up, so I will be doing a full review on that. It's my first time trying the brand. I always figured that that Ghost Town palette from them would be the palette that I'd want first, but I don't know, when I saw this one, something about it was just so beautiful. So I picked this one up and I cannot wait to try it. I hear nothing but good things about that brand. Alright, on that same brush, I'm going in with this shade right here. And we're going to pack that on this outer half. Kind of patting it and then swirling it, just to kind of get that blended out easier. It's a pretty shade. But you know what? I'm looking at that shimmer shade. I might do something more bold than this. Okay, we're seeing that shade. Alright, I'm going to take that same brush and I'm going to go in with this shade right here. Now, I'm going to pack that all over the lid. This is going to be like a base for me. It doesn't matter if it's messy because I'm about to put that shimmer over the top. I just want to get this shade down. So it don't matter if it's messy. It's okay. I'm doing something that I definitely never do. Alright, then I'm going to take this shade right here, and we're going to place that over the top of that. All over the lid, like all the way across the lid. Okay. We're just going to lightly blend around that shimmer shade. What do you think of that? I'm just trying something different for me anyway. Okay, I'm going to go in with that under eye corrector and then just a little bit of that Refi concealer. Just a little dot. So you see just how much that little dot does. Don't need a lot of that. So on a Sigma E54, I'm going to take this shade right here. And we're going to run that along the lower lash line. And then I'm going to take this shade right here, and I'm going to place that on both sides in the inner corner. What do we think of that? This side. I'm going to have to see how I feel about it when I have the rest of my face on, so I'm going to do that right quick and I'll come back. Okay, so here are these completed looks. So what do we think? Do we have a favorite out of these two or out of the three that I've done? I don't know. I kind of like the idea of this. I guess it's just weird seeing that type of look on me, but I would love to see that like on both eyes just to kind of get a full... Anyway, so for the blush, I'm wearing the Tower 28 Beach Please blush in Magic Hour. For the lips, I'm wearing the NYX Slim Lip Pencil in Natural. And then over the top of that, I'm wearing the Give Beauty Anaheim Shine lipstick. This one's in the shade Stomp Box. I feel like that was a perfect match for my hoodie. So now that I've done 3 looks, let's talk about this palette. Let's just do a quick recap. I think it's a really beautiful palette. I think it's pretty. It definitely is the same nice quality that last year's was. I remember loving last year's as well, except one big difference is this year they included much more shimmers, which I think was a very smart move because to me the shimmers are definitely the stars. The mattes are nice. I don't mean that in the slightest. The matte shades perform beautifully, but those shimmer shades, the way they swatched on my arm and the way they perform on the eyes, they're so beautiful. And I mean, I am really impressed with this shade, which is what I'm wearing on this eye over here, all over the top of those matte shades. I don't know. It's about the only cool tone shade in this palette for the most part as far as the shimmers are concerned, and I just think it's so pretty. There's something about it. But I'm glad that I picked it up during the sale. I'm happy to have it in my collection along with the other one. I knew that I really wanted to pick it up, but I just wanted to wait till the sale to do so, but I'm not disappointed with it at all. It's beautiful quality. Yes, this eye look and yesterday's eye look, or look number 1, they do look very similar, but I think that if you were like just skipping around all over the palette, you probably could avoid that, but with the way I was doing my reviews, it kind of ended up being this sort of the same, but all in all, it's a beautiful palette. I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you are alerted to all my future uploads. Follow me on Instagram at jessicadeerly. All of these products will be listed and linked for you below. They are affiliate links, so if you use them, I do earn a small commission, and if you choose to do so, thank you so much for supporting me and my channel, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!